Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat, and I have 3 things to say before we begin the wrap up. Number 1, I need your opinion. Would you prefer if I do a wrap up halfway through the month as well as at the end, or just one at the end? Because today we have 15 books to talk about, which is a lot. I don't mind, except that it will make the video a bit longer. The second thing is that 4 more books from January are going to appear at the end of February because I read them for the Invisible Cities readathon where I read around the world, and I'm combining January reads and February reads, and that will be a around the world translated fiction wrap up at the end of Feb. And the third thing to mention is that all of the reads from this month are either ocean reads that I was reading for Mer-ry January, or they are NetGalley arcs. I saw that there were so many books available for request, and I requested them, and I was very, very surprised and happy to receive a few. So I do have a few of those in this wrap up. So without further ado, we're gonna get into it. So we have 15, and let's just get started. So the first book I want to talk about is The Kindness of Your Nature by Linda Olsson, who is a writer from New Zealand. This sadly was the 3rd time I have DNF'd this book, so it is going immediately in book jail. And next on this list is Ocean Sea by Alessandro Baricco, who is an Italian writer. This is an Italian translation about a group of people who are all drawn to this seaside inn. The writing style really wasn't for me, so this is also a DNF. This is the first time I have DNF'd it though, so throughout the year I'll try to pick it up again. This is strike 1 DNF for Ocean Sea. So with those out of the way, let's get into all the books that I finished. I had such a fab reading time this month, and it was all over the place, which I really appreciated. We're gonna kick it off with Your Heart Will Grow by Chace, Verity, who is a non-binary author. This fellow's Kelpie, who is a diplomat mermaid. She is sent to this party, and she causes a ruckus and is thrown into jail when she refuses to play by the prince's rules, and her jailer, who helps her break out, is a young trans man named Morgan, who wants to be the best absolute, which is a type of high-level guard in this world, and the story goes from there. So I thought that the beginning of this novel was very strong. The first third, I was going to probably give it a 3.5. However, as the novel continued, there was just too much. Like, the too much gene was all over this book. Like, we had mermaids, we had dragons, we had unicorns, we had, like, everything you could imagine was in here. It honestly felt like this should have been split into at least 2 books because the pacing was all over the place, and while I liked the 2 main characters, there was so much happening throughout the book that they didn't get to be fully realized as characters. So for me, I gave it 2.5 stars, and I will not be continuing on in this series. Next up is one that I was so excited to be pre-approved for on NetGalley. This one is Redder Days by Sue Rainsford, which is coming out March 11th this year. You may know her because she wrote Follow Me to Ground, which was one of my best weird books last year. It was fantastic. This is set in a world where there is a dystopian built around this red contagion where animals and humans are getting red in some way. So some humans will get like red crawling down their chin, or have it be across their like skin, or will show up in other forms. And there's a scientist called Conch who was convinced a long time ago to create this kind of safe haven for people where they would watch out for the red and try to keep it out of their community. So it's the makings of like a very culty setting. So it seems right up my alley. Unfortunately, I gave this book only 2.5 stars because there were just too many points of view. I think there were 5 or 6 points of view, and it was very, very confusing to remember who was speaking. Even though each chapter had the person's name, it was still hard to remember which voice I was in. As well as a lot of the book is thinking back on the past and reminiscing rather than any action in the current day. So it felt very slow. Like the action was very submerged, subdued, because you're only experiencing it secondhand, and even that memory might have been secondhand. So it feels very removed. Also, there was incest between the brother and sister who are the main twins, which wasn't necessary at all. I don't know why we needed that. So all together, this novel was very confusing. Great premise, but I really don't think the execution lived up to my expectations. So I gave it 2.5 stars. Next, let's talk about The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. This one was everything that I thought it would be and nothing more. So it was perfectly fine and adequate. I gave it 3 stars. So this is a Little Mermaid retelling where Gaia hasn't ever been to the surface before, and when she goes, she sees a boy drowning, saves him, and then basically insta-love ensues. The messages in here were very heavy-handed. There was almost no world building, and there were magic powers out of nowhere and a very predictable plot. So I don't really recommend it. I had a good time while reading it, but I mean, it is gone from my mind. I don't really remember that much that happened. It's kind of a book you read and enjoy, but then it's predictable, it's what it is, and nothing more. I feel like I'm not selling it, but I'm also not trying to sell it to you, if that makes sense. So do with that information what you will. Next up, let's talk about Aster of Pan by Merwan, who is a French illustrator and author. So I saw this on NetGalley and I requested it as fast as I could because it's kind of a post-apocalyptic eco-dystopian setting with a female main character, and just the art looked absolutely stunning. So we are in a world where things have kind of gone awry and different areas of the land are really toxic. And there is this community called Pan, which Aster is a part of. And as it opens, she's just hanging out with her friend, and we get to see the world, that there are rations happening, food is kind of scarce, people are pretty poor, but she kind of lives day to day scavenging among wrecks of older civilization until this concept of celestial mechanics is introduced. And basically it is that if another country wants to invade your country and take over and tax your people, you can call celestial mechanics, which is your side versus their side in this very intense dodgeball game. That's not what it's called, but that's essentially what it is. And I just had a lot of fun reading this. So the art style was wonderful. It was fully colored, which is extremely nice to see. And then also the female main character is a badass, and there were some great action scenes during the dodgeball tournaments, because they start out playing in an arena, and then things get wilder and wilder, and basically the last round is them playing in this whole broken down poisonous area, which is pretty cool. So the cons that I will say is that I suppose it was so focused on the dodgeball aspect, the celestial mechanics aspect, that we didn't really get to be that connected with the characters, and we didn't get to explore the ideas that the story brought up fully. So I hope that there are more. I hope that there's like a number 2, number 3, because I would definitely read on and see how those themes are explored. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I gave it 3.5 stars, and I do recommend it. It was a lot of fun. And it comes out on February 2nd, which I believe is the day that you're watching this video. Okay, the next 3.5 star I have is The Kraken Wakes by John Wyndham. This was a great ocean read. I guess you could call it read. We listened to it on audio when we were moving house. We were listening to the BBC adaptation of this, and it was amazing. It was so good. They not only had a full voice cast, but they had all of the sounds. So this is set in a world where ships are sinking for no apparent reason, and at first everyone around the world thinks other countries are secretly taking down those ships, but then they realize that actually it's something from the deep that is rising and causing havoc. I thought it was a little too short, but what they did was excellent, if that makes sense. And obviously the BBC radio adaptation was just chef's kiss. Highly recommend it if you want to read this book. Another 3.5 star is Deep Blue by Jennifer Donnelly. This one caught me by complete surprise because I read it thinking, oh, I just want to read something that will be like maybe a DNF or that I won't like that much so that I can try it at least and like get it out of the way. Well, joke's on me because I read this in pretty much one sitting. This is one of those books where it's unputdownable, but it's nothing phenomenal. So we're following Serafina, who is daughter of the Queen of Miromara, which is one of the undersea kingdoms. And when she has her basically coming out, where she performs magic and battles a monster to take her rightful place as next queen, essentially, her kingdom is attacked. And this sets her on a journey to gather other princesses in order to fulfill this prophecy. And the strongest part for me was the part before the journey. So I'd say about the first half of this book was pretty strong, and then the part where she actually meets the other princesses and picks them up along the way, it was so formulaic. Like, she's on this journey, oop, there's a princess, pick her up, put her in the basket, oop, there's a princess, pick her up, put her in the basket. And I was like, it just seemed like the first half of this was so well plotted and interesting, and I couldn't see what was coming. But because she has to gather these like frickin' 7 princesses or whatever, it was very formulaic the second half, which was kind of a letdown. But I did make my way through very speedily, and I don't regret it at all. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I do recommend it if you like fantasy with mermaids that's easy to sink your teeth into, and the pacing is quite fast. And the last 3.5 star I have to talk about is The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Roffey. So this is set in Trinidad, and a fisherman is out to sea when he decides to take a break and play his guitar. And his song actually brings up from the deep a mermaid who is over 1,000 years old. However, one day she mistakes his boat for another boat, and she is caught and dragged ashore as a trophy for these other fishermen who are tourists. And he makes a very bold move, and this fisherman, who kind of has a low profile on the island and never does anything contentious, decides to cut her down and take her to his house because he doesn't want the trophy fisherman to kill her and basically stuff her as a trophy. So he puts her in a bathtub and is going to put her into the ocean the next day. However, her tail starts to flake and fall away, and she becomes human again. So there were a lot of things in this that I really enjoyed and a lot that I really didn't enjoy, almost in equal measure. I had a really hard time deciding how I felt about this book, so I think I'll just tell you the pros and the cons together. So the idea of a 1,000-year-old Caribbean mermaid who has a huge ass tail, and she's not exactly the beautiful like Ariel of the Little Mermaid. Like, it says she has like lice and seaweed and mites in her hair. She has like all this rock and debris in her like long dreadlocks. And she has this huge tail, which is like kind of a flatfish tail. It's massive. So she's not like this slender little thing. However, she is viewed by him kind of in the born sexy yesterday trope, where once she becomes human, she can't really walk, she needs his help, she doesn't speak the language, she is naked, and I'm just like, oh my god, I hate the born sexy yesterday trope so much, but also I love the concept of a 1,000-year-old mermaid. So I'm torn. I loved the idea of an everlasting curse and the exploration of post-colonial issues, which you see with some of the side characters in here. However, that's also balanced with comments about what makes a woman, and also insta-love on the fisherman's part. So this book is a complete mixed bag for me, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I don't know what to tell you. I'm completely mixed up about this book. Now we are into the 4 stars. So the next one is The Survivors by Jane Harper, who is an Australian writer. And this was the mystery thriller that we listened to while we were moving as well. So this really got us through the move, and I think I will always remember this book for that, because we would constantly guess like who we think is doing what, because we're following a main character named Kieran, who goes back to his hometown to visit his friends and see his family, when suddenly there is a murder and it dredges up a lot of the stuff from the past that has happened. And it is set in this small coastal town, and there are caves which at high tide are submerged, there's a sunken wreck, there's diving. There are a lot of elements that I really enjoyed. And when I first read this, I gave it 4 stars. There were some plot holes, so it did drop down to a 3.5. The next book that I want to talk about is Kelpie Blue by Mell 8. This one caught my attention because of the word Kelpie. I don't think I've ever read a book with a Kelpie before, so it was very interesting. And apparently I needed a shape-shifting Kelpie human romance in my life. I didn't know I needed that until I started reading this book. So we're following Bryn, who has had an accident in the past and has become disabled. His legs don't really function as they should, and he's practicing walking again with canes when he gets to a lake and passes out. The Kelpie that lives in the lake, named Blue, normally eats humans. He finds them quite delicious. However, this human has a lot of metal on him because he has the braces on his legs. So instead, Blue carries the human home and then decides to watch him and see what his snack, as he calls him, is doing. And from there, they become kind of best of friends, and the mom just welcomes Blue into their home because the mom herself is used to dealing with fae creatures. There's fae, there's disability rep, there's an romance. There's great scenes where they're writing back and forth to each other in a journal. The only thing that I didn't like and why it wasn't higher than a 4-star is because I felt the ending was really rushed, and I could have easily read another 50 to 100 pages of this book. So I recommend that if you like Kelpies, or if you like romances, or if you like fae books. I thought it was really good and took me by complete surprise. Now we are to my top 4 of the month. I recommend all of them, but get ready for some dark, queer, weird shenanigans. So my number 4 book this month was Beside the Sea by Veronique Olmi, who is a French writer. This is following a single mother who has decided to take her two sons on an impromptu trip to the ocean. And so she rents this shitty room in a hotel, and as she journeys there with her sons, you start to feel like things are not going to go well, to say the fucking least. This has some very haunting lines in here. Like, one of the ones was, I knew that my sons wanted to take toys with them, but I knew there wouldn't be any chance for play. And you're like, why won't there be chance for play at the seaside? What are we doing there? What's gonna happen? And as the novel progresses, it is so short, but the writing style is so tight. There is no like extraneous language, nothing extra. You just feel like you are trapped on this roller coaster and there's no getting off. And you can see what's coming, but you know it's not gonna be good, but you're helpless to do anything. And you just feel this impending sense of doom. It does have trigger warnings for mental health issues are exacerbated by kind of expectations and realities of motherhood that the character is dealing with. Don't read this if you can't handle bad things happening to children. That's all I'm gonna say about it, but it was very surprising, and it has the sea theme I was looking for. It's translated and it's very, very dark, and I thought excellent. My 3rd favorite book in the month of January is probably the one that has stuck out the most since I read it. I think about this book all the time, and it is so freaking weird. This is Skyward by Aliya Whiteley. This was one I got on NetGalley, so I don't believe it's out yet. It's coming out March 16th, 2021. So if you like books that I like, if you like weird content, if you like sci-fi light, this is for you. Get ready because shit is weird. All right, so let's get into it. Skyward Inn is following Skyward Inn, which is this small local inn that's set on this planet, this area called the Protectorate, which has kind of decided to stay out of intergalactic like battles and wars. It's a place where people just farm and drink brew and mind their own business. And they are kind of a haven for people who want a quieter life with no war, with no drama, etc. And we're following two main characters who have known each other for quite a while. One is named Jem, who is a woman, a mother, and the other one is Isley, who is a veteran from another planet called Kita, and the Ketans are a different race of being to human altogether. And they run this inn, and it's kind of a character study of them and the world. And then about, I don't know, 70% of the way through, everything just gets so weird. And Aliya Whiteley really lays the groundwork here for you to be pulled in and flabbergasted and like just having a horrific time. But you can't look away. It's that kind of book. So, some of the stuff that I would say are pros of this book are how she writes. Aliya Whiteley is amazing. The body horror in here is excellent. I'm not going to say anything other than that. I don't want to give anything away, but it's some of the best body horror I've read in a long time, and this will definitely be on my best weird books of the year list. It's definitely on there. Cool concepts and ideas of us and other, and we and us, and being together, togetherness. If you read this book, you'll know what I mean. And a lot of the concepts and the world building is so strange, but so wonderful. This is like if Solaris by Stanislaw Lem, who's a Polish sci-fi writer, and maybe Jeff Vandermeer kind of had a baby. That's this book. Like, that's what we're dealing with here. And I, at first, was going to give it 3.5 stars, but I think about it all the time. So this is definitely a 4, if not a 4+ for me. It's by no means perfect. You're dropped in as things are happening, and you don't get to view the two main characters from the past. So it felt kind of like I wasn't attaching to them that well. And I couldn't really root for them, as it were. But as time has gone on, I don't really think that was the point. So more of the concepts and the philosophy that is explored in the book is the actual point, and the people and their actions are used as illustrations. I will say that the trigger warnings for here are murder and masturbation. There was an odd number of barnyard masturbation scenes, which I don't really know why. So the book wasn't perfect by any means, but if you like weird stuff, you like body horror, you like sci-fi light, you like themes of exploring peaceful communities versus war communities, and how maybe we all need to just come together in the end, this would be for you. And I'm not going to say anything else except I really enjoyed it and I really recommend it. And if you're starting it and you're like, oh, this is a bit slow, keep going. Keep going. Definitely keep going, because it's fucking weird. Yeah, okay, moving on. So my second pick for the month, the second best one I read, is Ice Massacre by Tiana Warner. This is an FF warrior siren book. So we are following an ice clan who every year their soldiers are sent out to kill these sirens, which are interrupting shipments and their ships as they're sailing, and people that wander the shore of the island. So it's very dangerous. So the humans are really set against these sirens, and every year the men that go out to fight die. And so the community is like, you know what, we're gonna send women instead, because maybe the siren's magic won't work on women, and that turns out to be the case. So they train up this group of young warrior women and send them out to slaughter the sirens. But wouldn't you know it, our main character had a friendship with one of the sirens in her childhood, and she doesn't believe that sirens are as nasty and as mean and as dangerous as everyone is portraying them to be, and she wants to know why they are killing humans, because the mermaid siren she knew wouldn't have done it for nothing. So to help you decide if you need this book, some of the things that are in this are a female-female relationship and a romance, warrior women, high seas battles, bloody revenge, high seas mutiny, and just so much more. I love this, and I love the ending, and I will be continuing on in this series. I thought it was absolutely excellent, and it really also gave these sirens different aspects that I hadn't read before, and I thought were so freaking cool. I wanted to like be in this world. I would absolutely watch this movie if there was a movie made of this. So just highly recommend. Read it if you want. If you don't, why not? Read this book. So my favorite book of January was Our Bloody Pearl by D.N. Byrne, who is a non-binary author. This was recommended to me by Sage, as Sage reads, and thank you so freaking much. This was amazing. So we are following a physically disabled non-binary siren named Pearl, who was captured by this dick of a pirate who has kept Pearl captive and chained down with a weight which has paralyzed their spine. And as that shitty pirate goes into battle against this other pirate crew and loses, the new pirate leader who takes Pearl onto their ship is named Dejin, and he is queer and very gentle and very sweet. And then things go from there because they have to decide what they are going to do with Pearl, if they are going to put them back, or if Dejin is going to keep them safe away from the shitty pirate, what they are going to do. So this features a disabled non-binary siren, a gentle queer pirate, revenge, steam-powered ships, a trans female-female first mate inventor couple who are the side characters, sirens, sea battles, disability rep, which there are 2 in here, paralyzed tail due to spine injury, and permanently weakened arm due to physical trauma, queer love, sign language, slow burn, soft romance, non-binary author who is writing about non-binary sirens. Are you freaking kidding me? I just need the second book. I'm really, really sad because I think, yeah, this book was out in 2018. So I really, really am highly anticipating the second one and would love to read it like as soon as it comes out, whenever it comes out. I need this in my life. I loved this. It was soft, it was sweet, and also, I don't think I mentioned, but at the end of the book, the characters do mention that they are both on the ace spectrum. Everyone needs this book in their life. Everyone needs this book in their life. I thought it was amazing, and I gave it 4+ stars. I really thought it was fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And that finishes up all of the books that I read in January. I know that this is a long-ass wrap-up, but sorry not sorry. I would love to know if you want me to do 1 wrap-up a month or 2. This is what a 1 wrap-up would look like, and then 2 would probably be half the length. Let me know your thoughts down below. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you soon in February. Lots of love. Bye!